So, as a thick Geordie, we'll put this on me for a second, as a thick Geordie, right? I've grew up since I'm 44. In the late 90s, Operation Desert Storm. All my life worked on building sites, reading the newspapers, watching the BBC. All Arabs are bad. And then up to 9/11, 2001, all Muslims are bad. And then in the last couple of years, since COVID especially, there's a Muslim takeover. They want to convert everyone, or you'll be beheaded, or they've got to charge you a tax. And I would parrot these things. Verses from the Quran shared on social media, especially in right-wing Facebook groups. I'm not on Facebook anymore, but that's where a lot of it is, where the echo chambers are. But since I have been drawn to the Islamic faith, and I'm not afraid to say, I'll just move myself over here. I'm not afraid to say that. But since I have been drawn to the Islamic faith and going to the mosque and speaking to the Imam and the Shia Muslims, there's a lot of Islam I admire and the way I want to live my life since I've got sober. And that's the thing, we're all, especially lads my age from Newcastle, the sesh life, living for the weekend. You know, when you get sober, you realise there's got to be more to life than this, And I'm finally doing all right for myself, making some half-decent money, providing for me kids, looking after me mum. Because when I was an addict, I would lie to me mum and take money off her weekly. Make up, I've got no electricity, I need 20 quid. It was always 20 quid. Because obviously, you get 2 for 15 in a fiver bottle of sweaty. So it was always 20 quid. And I'm ashamed, I'm embarrassed, but it happened. But since I got sober, I've been drawn to faith. And I make no excuses. And I'm not ashamed of it. Even though I'm not one to shove religion down anyone's throat. But this guy here, I started following on Instagram. I think it's worth listening to, so I'm just going to share a couple of his clips.
4 million, 6.5%, 90% are white. They're convinced that you're taking over. I want to know how. How is 6% or 6.5% going to take over the other 90% when the other 90% have got the army, the air force, the navy, the police force, the parliament, and the banking system? I'd love to know how we're going to do it. I'm sure it'll be news to you guys as well. But this is what they're being gaslit to believe. Why? Because these white non-Muslims don't live in what we would call Muslim-populated areas. They live in towns, villages, satellite towns around the big cities, suburbs. 65 million non-Muslim white people don't live generally day-to-day with Muslim communities. So the contact that they have, it's not daily and it's not all the time. So they're hearing a lot of it from GB News. They're hearing a lot of it from social media. That's where they're getting their information about us from. That's why it's easy for them to sort of be gaslit and turned against us. There's a thing that all immigration is Muslim and all immigration is bad. Some immigration is good, some immigration is bad, but not all immigration is Muslim. We have the grooming gang problem. We have all of these problems they're hearing about, and we're just not out there giving them alternative, okay? Tommy Robinson, who's backed by very rich, very influential people, most of the non-Muslims that are white are getting their information from these channels and these sources, and they're worried and they're scared. They think we are going to take over. Where are they getting it from? It's not a reality. It's a false argument. I never heard anyone in my 29 years as a Muslim say, I want to take over the country. They might say, inshallah, one day everyone will be Muslim. If I was a Christian, they'd say the same thing, wouldn't they? They'd say, one day, God willing, everyone will be following Jesus Christ, okay? But they're being gaslit into this, okay?
And this is the thing, out of all the Shia Muslim and Sunni Muslims in general that I've met, not one of them has tried to push their religion on me, not one of them. And like the Imam said to us when I first went to the mosque and was introduced, I'd been a few times, but I got friendly with a guy from Afghanistan, a Shia, and he introduced us to the Imam. The first three things he said, I think I've mentioned it before, but it's worth reiterating, laws, ethics, beliefs. The first thing he said, law. We live in England, so we abide by English law. We live in the UK, so we abide by UK law. Beliefs, that's what's in your heart, what you believe in. Ethics, how you live your life. Tell the truth, be honourable, be honest. Stand up for the oppressed, help the needy, give to charity. Where in any of that does this notion come from that he had to take over, or they want to behead non-believers and all this? Not like I believed it, like I've said. Where I grew up, Combat 18, C18, that was sprayed on every wall beside every Pakistani shop, if you know what I mean. But that's what we called them, just like the Chinese restaurant. That had another word for it. The spring linkies rhymes with that. And this is just a reality of where I grew up. And like that guy says there, I'm from the small villages surrounding Newcastle, where I've grew up, and it's been 95, 99% white. My primary school, 100% white. My middle school, I'd probably say 97, 98 out of the 4 years of middle school. In the time I was in there was maybe 3 ethnic minorities, either Pakistani or Indian. And then the high school, probably 90, 95% white. This is just the environment I grew up in. And when you see on the BBC all this stuff to vilify and dehumanise the Muslim population, like this whole grooming gang thing, I'll keep saying it like, it was a Pakistani grooming gang. If there were Geordies doing the same thing, going up and down the country, right? And they got caught and they were all from Newcastle, would the headlines be Christian grooming gang? Because we've all been christened up here, even though we don't go to church. We drink, we smoke, we take drugs, sleep around, watch porn, lie, cheat, steal, etc. But would the headline be Christian grooming gang? Please, this is what you got to understand. But if it said Geordie grooming gangs, and then someone seen that headline and then read the first sentence, and it said these men from Newcastle, all right, well that makes sense, that's factual. But to call them Muslim grooming gangs, it's a deliberate ploy to vilify the Muslim population and to vilify Islam. Because I can guarantee those Pakistani men, I bet you none of them went to the mosque, let alone prayed. They all drank, they all took drugs, they were giving drugs to the young girls. It's despicable what they've done. But it's got nothing to do with religion, nothing at all. And then there's just one more I wanted to share. I think this is important, like, more people need to realise what's going on.
That most of you don't get into. They let their guard down with me, especially when they don't know I'm Muslim. The people that I've known for many years, 20, 30 plus years, that have been fine. Now they just don't like Muslims. And they are sharing things on Facebook. They're talking about things. They're not talking to me anymore. There's quite a few of them have stopped talking to me. And now we've got also the political movement where Robert Lowe, they're both stupid names anyway. But you've got Robert Lowe, and then you've got Nigel Farage. 7 or 8 years ago, neither of these two would be considered serious politicians. They was always considered on the outside of politics. Now, maybe Nigel Farage, Allahu Alam, will be Prime Minister. It's a serious possibility. And he's not extreme enough for some of these guys. Some of these guys will want more. So we are living in bubbles. You know, there's a lot of us that live in Muslim areas of towns, maybe in Manchester, Birmingham, Luton, London. And it's kind of okay because you can bury yourself into that community and it all goes on somewhere else. While they're doing a march in London or where it doesn't bother me because it's in central London. So you can tend to bubble yourself off into communities and not be aware of what's going on. But I've got a foot in both worlds. I can tell you 100 that it's changing. And it's not changing for our benefit. I can promise you that. The problem is that we just don't get it. The younger Muslims tend to be a bit more clocked in, a bit more dialed into this. The older Muslims, anyone above 45, is not a problem for them. It's a problem for you, trust me. It's coming down the road. And I hear this a lot. We had all this in the 70s and 80s, and it blew over then, and it will blow over again. Nah, not again. This isn't the 70s and this isn't the 80s. I left school in 1985. I witnessed the skinheads. But that was just good old-fashioned racism. They just didn't like you. And yeah, they didn't like Irish people either. And they just didn't like people that weren't like them. Now, we're not talking that. We're talking they don't like your religion. And it doesn't matter what colour, because they don't like me more than they don't like you. Trust me, if they could get their hands on anyone in this room, it would be me. So now it's not the 70s and 80s. Stop going back to that and thinking it will blow over, staying in your bubble, staying in your communities, and thinking this will just blow over, because it's not going to blow over. Like, inshallah it will do. You know, we want it to, but I don't think it's going to. Too much money, too much energy, and too much effort has been put into this.
And shout out to that guy. But this is the thing, like, this is the scary thing. You've got the likes of Tommy Robinson and Nigel Farage, even Elon Musk, deliberately vilifying and dehumanising the Muslim population. And like that guy said there, where I grew up in the 90s, obviously I was only born in 81, but in the 90s when I was a teenager, it was just good old fashioned racism. Like, if you weren't white, that was it. But now, as the culture and the country has got more diverse, the target is Islam. They want to take over. You know, and then you've got the likes of Sneeko doing that stupidity, rage baiting during the World Cup in New York, and it worked. It worked. Like, people want him to be deported, even though he's an American. Like, but this is the scary thing. Like I've said before, and I'll say it again now. All of the Muslims I've met, none of them have expressed any kind of hatred towards anyone. Like, especially the Shia. It's all about being a good person. Read about it. Read the Quran. I'm halfway through. Like, I'm trying to learn. And I'm nobody to look up to or admire or to get information from, but because I have lived the council estate life, I'm a product of that environment. Drug addict, addicted to drugs, addicted to alcohol, gambling, vice, and hatred. I had hate in my heart, like, and it took us getting sober to get closer to God and to faith, and that's another thing. God is Allah. Allah is God. Jesus is in the Quran. This is what people didn't know. I know it's 2026 now. When I went to the mosque, it was just before Muharram, and then during Muharram, in the day of Asura. And there was a whole service about Mary. Like, lads at work, I told them they wouldn't believe you, like. And like he says about that, about the Facebook groups, I've still got group chats with lads at work, like WhatsApp group messages. And a lot of disrespectful stuff towards Muslims and that, I kind of just ignore it, like. But, like, my girlfriend at the minute's a Muslim. And I find it disrespectful, like. And I had to tell one of them, look here, you know that my girlfriend is a Muslim. Like, come on, if your wife or girlfriend was a certain nationality, race or religion, and I was sharing stuff in the group chat, mocking that race or religion, how would you feel like? Oh, well, no, she's not a proper Muslim because she doesn't cover up. It's like, this is the thing, like, they just tore them all with one brush, like, and I've been guilty of it. That's why I think we need to spread this message, like, we need to be united. Like, I don't mean to sound weird here, but it is a low IQ take, because once you do more than 5 minutes of research, read the Quran, read books about Shia Islam, what they believe in, the 30 points that they have, the 30 points that you need to live by, and then I think there's 30 points what they class as haram, like unlawful, and it has everything from paedophilia to domestic abuse to violence. Yes, violence is mentioned in the Quran, but standing up for yourself. If someone attacks you, attack them back, an eye for an eye, just like the Bible. The books are very similar, very, very similar. It's all about peace and love. But the powers that be don't want you to be united with your brothers and sisters. We're all people of the book. I'll keep saying it, like. I will keep saying it. And inshallah, hopefully, because the way it's going, like, if Farage gets in, which I don't think he will, like, because it's just Tory light, isn't it? They haven't got a clue. Look at all the councillors that have had to resign because they don't know how to run a council. But the people are seeing all this online, from Tommy Robinson, Nigel Farage, Elon Musk, and the likes of Douglas Murray, who's very well spoken to us sort of thick people like me from the council estate. When you hear Douglas Murray saying, oh, every Palestinian is Hamas, you believe it? Because you think, oh, Jordan Peterson the same? Oh, well, they're well educated, they're intelligent. That if they're saying that, that must be the truth. Just look where all the money and power is. Another thing I seen just before there, in America, 42% of all income tax revenue goes on paying the interest on the national debt. Just the interest. It doesn't pay any of it off, just the interest. And then Roger Waters brought up on Tucker Carlson like usury, i.e. interest on loans, is illegal in Iran. And you wonder, it's like someone else mentioned it and I thought it was quite telling, like China, Russia, Iran, Cuba. Basically the four countries left that the big bankers and the big tech companies haven't got. They're not happy with 95, 96%, 97%. They want 100% in this whole Greater Israel plan. This is what they believe in, like, whether you like it or not. Just listen to what they say out their own mouths. But I'm going to do a little bit more on this topic because I think it's important, like, and like I say, I'm just a thick Geordie. If I can see this, man, and some people will be like, oh, well, it's all propaganda, blah, blah. Look what's coming out their own mouths. Look at Netanyahu, Smotrich, Ben Gvir. Just listen to what they say. Listen to what they say and make your own mind up.